To start?
Yes.
All right. Welcome to Planning Commission for the August 7th, 2024. We'll start the night off with a prayer from Commissioner Anderson and the pledge from Commissioner Tupou.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful we can be here together as commissioners and citizens of Washington City. We're grateful that we can discuss the needs of land use in Washington City. Please help us to have good judgment and good temperament. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the July 17th, 2024 meeting.
Commissioner Tupou, I make a motion to approve the minutes from July 17th, 2024.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The third is the declaration of abstentions and conflicts. Is there anyone that has any with tonight's?
I have none.
Okay.
None here.
We will start off with 4A, a zone change. Z-24-01, a request for rezoning of approximately 13.91 acres located at approximately Washington Parkway and 200 East from the current AP, OS, and R16 zoning designation to a proposed PUDC and OS zoning designation. The application is Greg Whitehead, and we will turn it over to Drew.
Yeah, thank you. Eldon's on vacation, so I think he's on a beach for the last day of his trip right now. So at least I hope he is. The applicant's requesting approval to change the zoning of approximately 13.91 acres. This is located on the south side of the Washington Parkway at approximately 200 East. The requested change is from the current zoning of administrative professional, open space, and R16 to the proposed plan unit development commercial consisting of 9.74 acres, and then the remainder of that particular area into open space of 4 acres, 4.17 acres, and that totals the 13.91. The name of the proposed development is Red Desert Commercial. The general plan land use designation was approved several months back to the plan unit development commercial category. The surrounding zoning is planned community development to the north, which is the Salente project, open space and R16 to the east, R16 to the south, and plan unit development residential to the west. The PUDC request of the 9.74 acres is for the purpose of developing the acreage into several different uses, one being on the south end of the project, storage facilities. Then there will be commercial office buildings, including one quick serve drive-through. This will be broken down into projects, includes 4 commercial office buildings, and let me just kind of zip through as we get we're on the plan. Again, the storage units will be down here in the south. There will be man cave storage units in the middle. And then here are the 4 office buildings with the quick serve development over here on this east side. So with that, those 4 commercial buildings will each be 15,000 square feet in size for a total combination of 60,000 total square feet. The quick serve drive-through building over here on the east, it will have 1,200 square feet. The 34 man cave developments, which is kind of in the storage unit category, come in at 1,328 square feet in size for a grand total of 45,150 square feet. And then there will be 283 individual storage units which will be total square footage in those 283 will be a total of 59,600 square feet, just in the standard storage unit type design. The proposed project includes 253 parking spaces, which meets the minimum required as outlined in the zoning regulations. The exterior finishes are attractive, and let me zoom down to those as well, and we'll kind of start here. Let me get the best view of these. Here's your two-dimensional look on those. So each one of those commercial buildings out front of those four will have this appearance on the fronts, and here's the sides, and then the rear. This is the particular look for the man cave units with a roll-up door and a man door to go in them. And this is what you'll see on the entrance of, and the back side of them will look like this particular elevation right to the bottom of it, and then the two sides for those continued buildings. Again, another look at just renditions of the man caves front and back. This is kind of a aerial from up above, as though you're on the parkway. How this project will lay with the four buildings here, the quick serve over where my arrow is up on the top of that photo. Then the man caves, there'll be 2 rows of them, and then of course you can see the storage unit tops and how they'll lay out below in this photo. The project will be broken up into phases, and this is why we made them put in this particular elevation. The commercial will come last, just because they don't have any. If they had people that were ready to come, then they'll build them faster. But the plan is to get the storage and the man caves done first, but we told them we just didn't want this to be bare. So they're planting the landscaping here on the backs of these man cave units. At least give some variety of look and not just the backs of those. After the commercial buildings come in, that landscape will be removed, and it'll then be paved for access to the backside of the commercial units. So, and this is just from the different angle of that same proposal. Again, Washington Parkway views as you're driving down the parkway, the different directions, the entrances, etc. More close-up version of those 4 buildings. And they'll all be identical. Now the quick serve drive-through is designed as such with, again, the circular drive-through window pattern on it. This will be its elevations. It may not be a SIP. They just, I think, put something on for that. It may be. We'll find out here in a little bit. Again, just different viewpoints of that quick serve. So here's the most southern part looking back to the north that you would see from down in the major detention basin that we have, or that subdivision behind. This is the back of the storage units around the perimeter. And they'll be putting in the landscaping, and then you can kind of see the finish of, it'll be block, but it'll be two-toned, mixed throughout the project, as you can see, with the different bands of the different colors. Again, same picture from a different view. Here's a rendition of the separation between the storage units here on the left-hand side versus the back of the man caves here. That is in the middle of the project, and that'll be that transition at that point. Again, here's the renditions of the man caves going down that street, that it's only one street with man caves on each side. And then you can see the back of the commercial buildings over here where my arrow is floating. So again, just different perspective of the man cave. And then here's the distance, what they'll be doing in between those 4 different buildings, how it'll be finished off. Again, another view just along those fronts. And again, just 2 more quick of just the drive-through area of that quick serve. So there's the project. I'll get back to my report a little bit. I wanted to go through all those photos. Again, the parking it meets the standards. The development will be required to meet all the adopted city ordinances that relates to building code, fire codes, etc. Staff feels that these can be met, the request could be granted for the proposed new commercial development at this location. Therefore, staff would like to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Z-24-01 for the zone change request from AP open space and single-family residential 6,000 square foot to the proposed PUD commercial of that 9+ acres, and then the remaining open space in the south of the 4 point something acres that I read earlier, and that would be based or sent on to the city council and based on the following findings and subject to the conditions below. And I don't know if you had a chance to read the conditions. I don't know if we want to read all 13. Hopefully you've looked through them. A lot of them are pretty standard for commercial developments that we do. So with that, I will be more than glad to answer any questions that the commissioners have on this proposed development.
Drew, can you pull it up in the Google view, the maps view?
This area,
Yeah, just so that I can see where
it's going to be pretty barren right here, but this is the area. You can see where my arrow is. I'll try to get it. There it goes. It's right in this area. So there's a townhome project that was approved a couple of years ago way over here. You know, it runs north and south, and my arrow will get big. And then it's this piece that's right in here. Sorry I can't draw in my Google Earth thing, but yeah, it's just right where my arrows have that mask.
Hey, Drew, this is Sheil. What's the reason for storage units? Is there no access to sewer and utilities in that area? And are they low enough that sewer's an issue?
I don't know if it's so much sewer. I mean, we'll be glad to ask that, and I hope that Rick and you folks and Greg will invite them up in a little bit to answer what that is. But I don't think it was a sole choice just on that, even though it does drop down in that area. And again, being that far below the grade, I know that if you've been out there, it is below the street grade off of the parkway. I think they took that into consideration, that storage units might be their best thing instead of trying to get somebody to rent some building down below there. So, but we'll get that from them, if you don't mind just holding on that question.
Yeah, another question and get it from them, I guess. Man caves, are they a for rent or are they for sale?
For sale.
They're okay.
Yeah, so we got those ones over in St. George.
Pardon me?
It's going to be like, there's several projects over in St. George that have done the same thing. They've sold them out. So it'll be a condominium type of a plat.
Yep. Well, I didn't see anything from surrounding neighbors come in through. How's the chambers? Is it full of people or are you empty?
Are there any residents here? Just kind of pop your hand, I can tell them, that are here for this. It's a grand total of 0 people from
okay.
but if you remember, they were here for the general plan,
Right.
change, and I think they got all their voices heard or a lot of their questions answered at that time. Yep. So,
well, I don't know what else you do with that property, but it just gives me a little bit of heartburn for Solante Gateway coming in there and having storage units. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, and not to, I'm just saying, and they've tried to hide them as much as possible, behind the other buildings, but I get what you're saying.
So did Solante, did they come in with any comments? It kind of shocks me they didn't, I guess.
No, we Had no written, again, everything went, to the standard 300 feet around. We had to hit at least 30 people with no duplications. So they definitely got a
Right.
notice. So, but it might have went to Sitla too, because I don't know if the land's been transferred exactly yet.
Well,
So,
And that's true, and Sitla's gonna vote for it. So anyway, let's let somebody else voice some opinions, I guess. Thanks for taking me.
Hey, Drew, this is Commissioner Tupou. Do we have a timeline between phase 1 and phase 9?
I want to ask them that if they have one, we'll invite them up during that process. So keep that. And again, I hope they're making notes on that. So
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Anderson, I have a question for John. Kind of put you on the hot seat. Question for you.
Okay, yeah.
Is there, with the entrance here, Washington Parkway is only going to get busier. Is there, it looks like there's plenty of room to be able to do like a turn lane, at least in, or maybe a turn lane in and out? If there's any issues with land or anything, is that something that we could do that would be a good idea or not?
Until we would get the full traffic study in and stuff, we wouldn't, but more than likely at this point in time, no, there wouldn't be a need for a turn lane into this, so. And again, this property only gets a right hand in, right hand out, so.
Okay, thanks.
yeah, because I'm just going to add on to that. The Parkway, when all built out, will be like you see it down heading, from the Maverick all the way down to Telegraph. It's going to be separated 2 lanes each way with a, landscape median. This will look just like that when it's at its build out.
What's the elevation difference between, it does drop down like Commissioner Schill was saying, but how far is it dropping down from Washington Parkway? Are you going to be able to see the units in there? Or is,
What's that? 24 feet, that's what I was, yeah, you can see these cut lines in here, 2988, then it gets down to 2984, and then by the time we get down here, yeah, we've dropped quite a bit. So all said and done by the time we get down at the bottom from the roadway.
well, it is a public comment, so I'll open up the public comment section. Doesn't
Yeah,
look-
just open up the public hearing because
Yeah,
even
the
though
public
they may
hearing.
not be here, we still open it and we'll close it later.
But I guess I can close it now because there's no one. So I'll close the public hearing portion of this. Do you guys have any other?
But we'll like the applicant up because I think
Yeah.
you have some questions.
You have some questions?
My only question was that one, just the right in, right out. I don't know, I always think if you got room for it, it's always a good idea. I don't think it's ever a bad idea to put it in, but there's plenty of room for it, so that would be my only suggestion.
My only thing is we moved all the storage units out of the commercial areas. And now we're putting them back in. They're hidden, but there's that town storage down the street, and then there's there's quite a few storage units that have gone up in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and they're hidden, but we don't know how long before they're actually hidden because there's 9 phases. So the front goes in last.
And Pete, I agree with you because I don't know why we went through that exercise to put it in an industrial zone and then we open up the Pandora box again. So I agree.
And I don't think, this is Commissioner Anderson, I don't think it's a matter of necessarily looking bad. I mean, they're good looking, units, the storage units and the man caves, they look nice. It's more a matter of, are we losing usable commercial, space in town? Now maybe it's just a bad spot. Maybe you can't get additional tenants back there. I don't know. It looks like it'd be almost better for a industrial type of, office warehouse type thing. But that would be my only thing is just, are we losing land that could be viable? I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's why, I guess that's a good question but maybe that's why they're doing this. Because you can't really get people to rent back there.
And I think that's good, because again, the whole thing about we moved it out was we were losing good prime commercial land. Okay, and that's what we were tired of losing that. So, and we did take it out of that, but this is again a PUD. They're asking for, again, PUDs are negotiating zoning. I think we, invite them up, let them give their spiel to you why, they're trying to find justification to do that. But again, if they're not going to be seen, and if I was going to put some commercial down there that nobody's going to rent, and it's going to be vacant all the time, that's what you have to play out. What is going to be the best use based on the location, the elevation, and everything? Because again, you don't want to just say, I want it to be commercial, but nobody will ever rent down there or buy or anything, because they're out of sight, out of mind, and that's not good when you're a commercial business, right?
Well, and they're not.
I don't care how good the word of mouth is, but if you're out of sight and out of mind, it doesn't do well.
The other good part is that it is lower, so even though the neighbors will look at them out their back, it's not going to block their view necessarily.
And this Commissioner Anderson, I don't think the look of them is going to be any issue whatsoever, right? My only thing would be to get more commercial out of there or not. Now, from the looks of it, I would guess that what they've done is probably about all you're going to get in there for good commercial, and the rest of it would, man caves or storage units or like an industrial warehouse type of business might work, but I don't think you're going to get any more prime commercial out of it. That's maybe a better question answered by the applicant.
This is Sheila. I'm in a heck of a rainstorm, but I'm in Cedar City. But maybe open space, as everybody, the public looks at open space, isn't so bad to have. Maybe everything we have doesn't have to have a building on it. It sucks for Sitla, I guess, but I think there's some things that could just stay undeveloped.
Does the applicant want to come up? Does the applicant want to?
Good evening. You would pass up an opportunity to come up and speak.
I would. I'm sorry. I was asking a zoning question. Thanks. This is Greg Whitehead. Do you want me to? I can take questions, or I can just answer some of the questions that I've heard. Okay. Let me just give you a brief history on this parcel. So it is a bit of a tricky parcel where it sits on the northern corridor. It doesn't touch Main Street. So if it connected to Main Street, then we would have a different outlook on the storage probably wouldn't be there, and we'd do a lot more commercial because you'd have that hard corner of Main Street and Washington Parkway. But because of where it sits, Washington Parkway only allows for that right in, right out. And so that restricts, that's kind of a barrier of commercial. So the thought was, okay, if we have that bottleneck to work with, we probably can get some of that frontage commercial built out, but the back is, we can't put a grocery store there. We can't put a heavy traffic generator. And so there's only so much traffic we can generate. So what's the best use for the remaining parcel to make it financially viable? And so that's where the kind of the man caves and storage came in. The other idea here is the houses sit quite a bit above. And so from an aesthetics point of view, when you're on Washington Parkway, you won't see the storage. It's going to be pretty much hidden. So, you know, obviously if you know it's there, you can come in and use it and get your storage. There's several places similar to this around southern Utah where you don't really know that there's storage tucked in around some houses. And that's kind of what we were going for, was we want to have it there, but we don't necessarily want it to be seen or be an eyesore or anything of that nature. So this one was, if you're familiar with St. George, there's one just on River Road where there's a little car wash in front of it, and steamroller copies. It's called Fort Knox. And yeah, so Fort Knox there, most people don't even know there's storage there. It kind of sits lower, but it's well used and people like it. So I've spoken with Sitla. Sitla has been working with Salente, and this is very complementary to Salente. They've had no complaints whatsoever. It's definitely, we feel like it's symbiotic. You know, Salente is a high-end, really nice development, but there is multifamily. There is higher densities within Salente as well. This allows people also just use the regular storage, but also I think you're going to get some of the high-end clients are going to want that extra space, which is the idea for the man caves. While they'll be condo and used, certainly there could be a rental side to it, but it's likely going to be very similar to Sun River man caves, where people go and use those and keep their cars in there and kind of lounge during the day and that. So they're kind of an upscale, larger flex space. So that's the general idea. There was, you know, this is not the easiest piece, but I feel like we've tried to efficiently use it. There is quite a bit of open space left around the outsides and the perimeters, with the washes all open, the south portions all open. You know, to the east, there's that future development, but everything to the south is still quite open with open space. So we tried to be as, you know, use as least amount as we could and leave open space if we could. So, but we do want to be efficient with the space. The drink place, SIP is fictitious. That's not a real. That's just a placeholder. That was kind of put there. There was a little bit of extra space that may come to fruition. You know, that's the idea. The nature of a PUD in general is I have to guess what might happen. So it's difficult. This is a difficult thing to do, trying to plan the future. I don't know the time. You know, I'd love to have as much commercial as I could get here feasibly, and I'd like to do it as fast as possible, but I wouldn't pretend to ever be able to predict the future of this. And so we just do the best we can and work within the parameters that we have. So
This is Shill, Greg. Hey, do you have a gap or some kind of a CC&Rs for uses in those man caves? So you don't get a guy in there that's changing everybody's oil. You don't get some kind of junk going on in those.
Yeah.
What kind of stopgap do you have in mind for that?
You know, I'm not ultimately, I don't think I'll be the end user of those, but I feel the same way as you. I don't want them to necessarily be used for commercial purposes. So we would emulate some of the man cave CC&Rs that we've seen in Ivins, in St. George, Sun River, those areas where they're not used for commercial purposes. So that is not the intent, Commissioner Shill.
Well, it's never anybody's intent, but
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, I don't have any CC&Rs yet. It's a little premature for that, but you and I are on the same wavelength there. I don't want that either. So we can write that into CC&Rs. That's fine.
Thank you.
It's Commissioner Tupou. What is the timeline? Do you have an estimated timeline between phase 1 and phase 9?
No, I wish I did. I would say that's market permitting. Now, having said that, Salente's going and it's building out, so I feel like it's going to move as fast as what I can with the market, and it's good to see other activity on the Northern Corridor. The Northern Corridor itself is questionable right now. We don't know exactly when it gets completed or how it gets completed or what the traffic counts will be and things. ultimately, exit 11 is certainly going to help. And so I think I like to be surprised by the market, and I'm hopeful to be that, but I wouldn't be able to predict. I don't think we're going to build that spec. We're not going to build it necessarily early. Possibly one, if phase 5 comes in, we could start one there and see how it goes. But you just have to be very careful. I built other buildings and as spec, and then they don't fill up, and then you just lose money really quickly, and that's very stressful. So we have to be prudent and do it correctly, but you're probably looking at a 5 to 8 year project is my guess, but I don't know till completion. But I couldn't guess. I couldn't predict it.
So the phase 1 with the storage units could stay exposed for years?
I don't think that the phase 1 is going to, because phase 2, 3, and 4, I believe, are immediately going to get picked up and built. And that was the idea for the vegetation strip across the back was, hey, worst case scenario, 5 through 8 take a while, but what if we put something that, first of all, we tried to decorate the man caves, the back of them. They have windows and elevations and multi-tones. I think they look pretty decent. But on top of that, we said, okay, we'll put some landscaping strip there in case 5, 6, 7, 8 take longer than expected. It won't look bad. And so, I don't want it to look bad as well. You got to also remember it from the road down, even down to there, you're almost 10 to 15 feet below. And so it's not like this big building's going to pop out and look bad. That's just not going to be the case.
Okay.
Has there already been a study performed for storage units there for an operator?
I only internally for myself. I've done my own internal studies, and it looks. I mean, that's a good point, Commissioner Schill. Is the reason why people are asking is they're in demand still. I mean, people want to store their stuff, and they have more of it than ever. So yes, they're still firmly in demand, storage units. When we originally were building this, I just remembered now. When we were originally putting this through, I did work with a group out of Salt Lake, a storage unit group, and we did commission a study. And so we actually did a few changes to be based off of that study. So I had forgotten. But yeah, we do have a study that is exactly what I just mentioned.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I think Commissioner Shield had the sewer question. Why storage?
The main reason for storage, it wasn't necessarily for sewer. It was we're limited on the amount of traffic that can go in and out of that facility. So the first thing I looked at was, okay, can we put, there's not a lot of grocery or major shopping in this area, and Salente will definitely want and need that. We just can't handle the trips. So the idea there was, okay, if we can't have that type of community commercial, then what's the next best thing? And so this is kind of where we felt like the highest and best use of the land would land. And so that's the reason for the storage, not necessarily if we couldn't get the sewer back there. It was, I just don't think that right in, right out can handle it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we can look for a motion, I guess.
Commissioner Anderson, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Z-24-01, request to rezone approximately 13.91 acres located at Washington Parkway and 200 East from the current AP, OS, and R16 zoning designation to a proposed PUDC and OS zoning designation with the findings and conditions outlined by staff.
I got it first by Commissioner Anderson.
Can we add a condition to talk about use and CCNRs? Or is that premature.
No, you could put that, I mean, propose that as a condition for the council to consider that there be, again, we can't be in the CCNR business, but if you want them to,
Right.
you could just say, we'd like to see with this CCNRs, and we'll let the council decide if they want to make that a condition. They just can't write them. They could just say, we'd like to have you have some recorded.
Well, I think where Commissioner Shill's
And-
going
and-
is that he doesn't want to see people running businesses out of the man caves. Is that true? Is that what
That's
you're saying?
exactly right. That's
And-
exactly right.
So here's a question.
Will city ordinance allow them to run businesses out of those?
Well, the issue kind of there
Well,
is.
they do out of your house.
That's the problem.
The zoning is PUD commercial, on it. So, and we just had a recommendation to turn this into maybe industrial store, for contractor yards or something. That's might be who you might end up buying one of these that may run his plumbing business or his electrical, if he's a single guy that does that, or a guy that does tile, he can buy one of these. He has it as his shop. It's going to be all under, behind doors. That's where that's kind of hard, because I am in a commercial zoning. If this was not, I don't know, that is kind of tough to limit on that.
Sheila, this is Commissioner Anderson. Where it's PUDC, I mean, we already have a concern about losing commercial. I mean, as long as they're not making a mess and a nuisance, which that would fall under city ordinance anyways. I mean, as long as they're,
No outside storage, that's the biggest problem we'd have, yeah.
But
I
if they,
think it's
Well, yeah,
fairly appropriate to use one of those and make a, a commercial business or whatever out of it. I mean,
but in the same sense, if they're going to fall under the category of, are they going to be able to have addresses there for these?
Well,
If they condominiumize them, and they will each have an address, they will. It may be a
but
suite.
I think an automotive repair and use, I think, is, to me, is a no-no. It garbages it up. And that's what I'm trying to alleviate, is getting garbage tenants in there, garbage operators that just make a mess, and it makes a mess for everybody. And no landlord likes to lease to a mechanic.
Well, to be honest with you, being
So-
this is plant, hold on, Doug, I think I'm going to answer your concern. This is planned unit development. You could put some not things to do in it. And if that's what the council decides they want to do and the applicant's okay with that, I don't think they really care about that. Saying we just, no tenants will be a automotive repair. I think they could probably say that, and we could put that as a not allowed, a prohibited thing. Again, this is customized zoning. If you want to make a recommendation and not have that, then let's put that down in the motion.
this is Commissioner Anderson. I honestly think that the applicant's going to have the best idea of what you could put in there, whether it is a commercial use or a personal use. And I think leaving it as commercial use, and if someone wants to buy a man cave in a commercial use thing and just put their boat and whatever, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anyone. But if
I
someone
like it.
have, store their light fixture business or their whatever, I think that's entirely fine too. And I think leaving it commercial opens it up to being able to rent it to twice as many people. Whereas, Doug, you're talking about like trying to section off a section and saying, hey, this is residential only, which that's a whole entire different type of zoning here. I think we leave it commercial zone and let the applicant decide what can go in there. And if they get someone in there that is a nuisance, tenant, they're already gonna have, internal processes to get rid of that. They're not gonna wanna,
well, if they're selling them,
mess it all up.
if they're selling them and they're not
But
renting.
Well,
It's condominiumized, so there is part of a owners association anyways, where they're gonna have to abide by certain rules and stuff, so I think it's gonna
right, now,
itself.
I don't want to create extra work for anybody. And it's just
Definitely
like
don't
that
think-
car lot down there, down on Buena Vista, that we had to go in and warn them a few times. And it's probably going to happen again. We're just creating headaches for us.
But that's the nature of commercial business. This is not a residential area.
The question I'm having though is, they're still gonna, if they try to run a business out of here, they're still gonna have to come in and get a business license and more than likely a conditional use permit for this area or something. And do they have enough parking to do anything more than a man cave?
No, and I think, and again, we're,
And that's gonna,
I think it's
that's gonna
self-
hamper it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I think it's gonna self-govern itself.
yeah, well, I think it's going to, because the more, I'm peeling this onion as we speak, right? There may not be a ability, because if the PUD commercial did not give them that, approval to do those things, they're only approved to be man caves. Now that I'm thinking about it, because it's written that way, it will just be man caves. So someone's just gonna have to take the general definition,
Yeah, I want to store all my light fixtures.
right?
Well,
I mean, if
For someone to,
customers there, but
I think to get out of that, though, they'd have to come back and do a zone change and ask for that use in one of those. That's the way I would interpret this zoning right now. So,
Yeah, with the parking, it probably will govern itself. So it just concerns me that you get somebody in there that fixes motorcycles, that fixes ATVs, and it just creates a lot of rubbish around the area. So
But
I get it. I'm fine.
But in the same sense, if a guy wants to take his car in there and restore it, he has every
That's
option
right.
to do that. So,
Yeah, he sure does. He sure does. Yep. Yep. Anyway, that's
I think it's fine the way it
You
is.
got my-
If the applicant has a particular, buyer that wants to do something, they can come in and ask for a rezone for part of it or whatever. I mean, whatever. Anyway, I think we have a motion in a second.
Commissioner Tupou, I second the motion.
sorry, I didn't hear you. So we have a first and a second. Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Schill,
nay.
Commissioner Tupou,
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I'm an aye. So it passes 3-1. And we'll move on to City Council. Next on the agenda is a conditional use permit. Hold on. 5A, a conditional use is C-24-13, a request for a conditional use permit for a 5-story hotel located at 1294 East Hospitality Way. The applicant is SWH Investments. I'll turn the time over to Drew.
sorry, just let me get to the best exhibit there as I start in on this. I think this one might be, yeah, definitely. All right, thank you. On February 28th, 2024, the City Council approved a site plan for a 5-story hotel, along with a 3-story office building and shared parking structure. The applicant has since made changes to that site that included shifting the hotel to the west, removing the office building, and the shared parking structure. They have added parking to meet the minimum requirements for a hotel for this particular proposal. The parking for the revised plan has been updated to meet those minimum requirements as outlined in our regulations. So the applicant is coming before the Planning Commission and then on to the City Council next week, requesting approval of a conditional use permit to build the 5-story hotel located at 1294 East Hospitality Way. This project previously received a height waiver of up to 65 feet from the City Council, and that was done back on October 11, 2023. Zoning regulations require hotels to obtain and approve a conditional use permit. The hotel includes 121 rooms with 14 employees during the largest shift. Parking for the hotel requires 140 parking spaces. The applicant is proposing the 140 minimum spaces. The parcel is zoned Service Commercial C2. The area is designated in the general plan as regional commercial. Staff has reviewed the proposed project and finds that it meets the standards as outlined in the general plan and the zoning ordinance. The building elevation finishes are aesthetically pleasing, and it appears that the development will be a welcome addition to Washington City. With that said, staff would like to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of C-24-13, allowing for the 5-story hotel to be located at the 1294 East Hospitality location. And that would be, of course, onto the City Council. That's based on the findings and subject to the conditions in your report. Now, again, here's the layout. We'll just kind of go through the exhibits real quick, and then I'll take questions if you have any. Now, this is just the main floor area, and they'll have a swimming pool. I'm off over to here where you see my arrow. And again, the 120 rooms will be separated throughout, conference rooms, et cetera, that are down on the main floor. The look of the building will be as you see here. It's a Hyatt Place, I think, is what it was originally was and still will be the Hyatt House brand. And these are the looks of the hotel. We'll see if we got. And here's the kind of the color scheme that they'll be using along with that, the stonework, the stucco work, etc. that you see. And again, they just put in this other view of the parking that's off to the west side and how they're going to finish that particular portion of it, with the required landscaping, et cetera. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that the commissioners have on this proposed conditional use permit for the hotel.
So the only change,
This is Skip. So the existing hotel over there, is that 5-story too?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. It's breaking up.
That existing hotel there, is that 5-story?
I don't think
I think
that
it
they
is.
are. They're a 4. Yeah, they're a 4-story hotel next door. The Best Western Plus.
Okay, well, I'm for it. I'm not gonna be a wet rag on this, but I'm sorry.
so Drew, all they did basically was get rid of the office building that was next door.
And the parking garage.
And yeah,
Yeah. And the site plan changed a little bit, but that's the big change was that they're not having the parking garage and they don't need to worry about the shared parking because the office building is off the table at the time.
it's a public hearing though.
Yeah, it is a public hearing.
So I'll open the public hearing if anyone wants to speak to this. Okay, I will close the public hearing. And look for a motion, I guess. Unless you guys have any questions for the applicant.
Commissioner Tupou, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of C-24-13, allowing for a 5-story hotel to be located at 1294 East Hospitality Way onto City Council based on the findings and conditions in staff report.
Commissioner Anderson, I second.
I have a first by Commissioner Tupou, a second by Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
No, you're ready to go. Commissioner Schill,
Yes,
Commissioner Tupou.
yay.
I'm Bullock, I'm an aye as well. This passes and it'll go on to City Council.
Yeah, for both applicants, this will go to City Council next week, same time, location, et cetera. So
that concludes our Planning Commission meeting. I'll look for an
I
adjournment.
move to adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Go ahead.
So welcome to the Land Use Authority meeting for August 7th, 2024. We will look for an approval of the agenda.
Commissioner Anderson, I move to approve the agenda.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So I look for an approval of the minutes.
Commissioner Tupou, I move to approve the minutes from July 17th, 2024.
Commissioner Anderson, I second.
So we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
I move to adjourn the meeting.
do I have a
second
second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that concludes everything.